Boink. Good.
Yeah. Woo. Ooh. Third Degree, the Third Degree Net Podcast. Third Degree, the Third Degree Net Podcast. Third Degree, the Third Degree Net Podcast. Third Degree, the Third Degree Net Podcast.
Third Degree, the podcast, is brought to you by Soccer90.com. They're your source for all FC Dallas, U.S. national team, and international club gear. The Dallas Burn and True Brand Military Appreciation Hat is now available at Soccer90. As a Third Degree listener, you can get 20% off anything you buy in-store or online. Simply mention the code Third Degree in person, or stick that code in when you're checking out. Soccer90.com, some exclusions do apply. Third Degree, the podcast, is also brought to you by the Lindstrom Law Firm. For trusts, wills, probate, and business law, call 469-515-2559. That's 469-515-2559. Or visit lindstromlawfirm.com for a free consultation.
Well, hello there, FC Dallas Curious fan. Welcome to episode 259 of Third Degree, the podcast, where we're going to be very serious and get down to the business. Hi, it's me, Peter, and look who's back. The man with the beard himself, Dan Crooke. Welcome back, Dan.
Hello. Yeah, I've been kind of disengaged the last couple of weeks, so did I miss anything good?
Absolutely zero. Zilch. Nothing good.
All right, I'll see myself out then.
Nothing good, at least related to this particular podcast topic. No. Not that I can think of, at least. And then, of course, your hero, my hero, everybody's hero, editor, founder of thirddegree.net, and this podcast, and the original soccer influencer himself, Buzz Carrick. Come in, Buzz.
Hi, fellas. I want to take a minute, if you don't mind, at the front of this podcast and dedicate this podcast to a friend of mine who passed away a week and a half ago. His name is Jim Feldman. I wasn't going to bring it up because I didn't know how his wife would feel in terms of privacy or whatever, but FC Dallas made a big deal about it. He is the longtime producer for FC Dallas and Dallas Burn broadcast going all the way back to 1996. So 27 years producing games for this club. He's done the bulk of them, the majority of them. Just a wonderful guy that I learned a lot in TV from. And not only just how to make television, but how to treat people. Just a fabulous, fabulous person, which is sometimes rare in television. You might be surprised to hear, but Jim Feldman was his name, and he is a great guy, and he's a friend of mine and a friend of everybody that's been on the broadcast here over the years, and it's a loss for this television community. And rest in peace, Jim Feldman.
Thanks for saying that, Buzz. I never met Jim, but boy, I'd heard a lot of him from you and Mark and Bob and Dunseth and other people that had gotten the treat of working with him over the years. So I thought that was very well said.
Thank you.
All right. Well, let's move on to other news, which would be Dallas got a point this weekend in because I was there for it myself. By the way, Buzz, I wanted kudos to a Third Degree Patreon subscriber for helping me acquire a few tickets to bring a friend who asked late to go to the game, and I decided to tag along with them, and we got to sit with a good Patreon subscriber who I will not name because I didn't ask them if I could do that publicly, so I will respect to err on the side of caution there, but I was there for what was easily one of the two most boring Dallas soccer matches I have ever had the pleasure to witness in person. Dallas 0, Seattle 0, absolutely nothing happened. And here is my really weird observation, Buzz, because you know I love, and Dan, you know how I love the weird observation. There was a moment in the game in the second half where I just stopped and took note of the crowd around me, and I don't think I have ever been at a sporting event where more people were paying attention to their phones than they were the game being played out in front of them. It was weird. If you had taken a photograph from the field of the stands, you would have thought it was halftime or there had been some sort of lengthy delay going on. Nobody was paying attention. It was that boring of a soccer game.
Yeah, this was a really boring, awful game. Not some pretty soccer. You know, you're looking at two teams who are not playing very well, either one of them. You know, sometimes similar reasons, but sometimes different reasons, and neither one of them are performing, and they're both trying to find themselves, and they're both playing not to lose games. Seattle, at least partially because they were on the road, they had the better chances, to be fair, but only by a tiny little bit. That what limited chances FC Dallas had were, within a fair, reasonable shout of being convertible. Really, the Sebastian Lletget was the best one. There were a lot of bad decisions being made, but Dallas had 12 shots, which is a little low. Seattle only had 8. Seattle had 60% of the ball, though, and was not able to penetrate what Dallas is doing. And it's very clear to me at this point that Coach Nico has basically withdrawn back to what he did when he first got here. He was given this mandate to stop the defensive bleeding, and that's basically what he's returning to. He realized his team was giving up a bunch of goals. He realized his team was not playing very well. He realized he's missing a lot of people, and that really the roster, like all MLS teams, if you don't have your top 6 or 7 guys, you're in trouble. And so basically they're playing not to lose, and Seattle's playing not to lose, and then you end up with the most boring game you've ever seen. It was really terrible.
Dan, you missed what probably was the real-life version of that famous Simpsons episode that people make fun of soccer with all the time.
Well, I'm really glad that I picked a good game to be busy for. I did get to see my conference I had this week was actually at the hotel that the Seattle team was staying in, weirdly. So I didn't get to see the game, but I got to see one of the 2 teams, and that was not exactly thrilling.
Well, that maybe was slightly more fun than the game was, which is a bummer because it was another sellout, Buzz. And this is the thing about this that I just can't square in my head, how they've allowed this on-field product to get so boring when they've gotten over this hump in terms of attendance. They've sold out every game this year, and there was actually a bit of a vibe before the game. The people that I went to the game with hadn't been to a game in a while, and we sat down somewhere to have dinner near this, outside the stadium beforehand. And it took us a while to get a table, and there was a vibe going on, and this person noticed it. It was weird. The other observation is that the friend that I went with, his teenage son attended with us, and his son plays for one of the local club teams and for his high school team. And his kid was like, "Oh my gosh, I don't understand why this team plays the way this play. They're not even trying to go forward."
Yeah, they're not.
It's just, and I don't understand why Nico is insisting on playing this really weird, boring style. He did it last year too.
Yeah. Well, that's the playing not to lose thing. The game before this one, Paz had to make 7 saves in order to get a blank sheet. And this one, they actually were just able to keep Seattle to 2 shots on goal. In the 2 previous games, I can talk. The 2 previous games, they were bleeding goals. So he obviously doubled down into a low block, even at home, try and kill the game and make it impossible for the other team to score. It's certainly not fun to watch, but there's a difference between a team that has this philosophy of we're going to come out and we're going to play and we're going to try and outplay you, and if you get 1 or 2, that's fine because we're going to get more. Versus a team like Dallas, under this coach in particular, who wants to make it where if you don't score, I can't lose. And so they're making it impossible. They're trying to make it impossible for the other team to score, and that is boring as hell. And that's why you're getting what you're getting.
But see, and watching what I saw Saturday night, while I agree that they are defensive minded, they display zero aptitude towards anything approaching knowing what to do with the ball once they have it. And it's not like Seattle was afraid to let Dallas have the ball, because Dallas has one very clear maneuver, which is play the ball to a fullback and try to play up one of the sides, and they get about halfway down the other half of the field and they stop and they turn around and they come back, and this goes on until eventually maybe somebody tries to play the ball into the middle of the field. They immediately turn it over and the whole thing recycles and starts over again. And I don't see, to me, Buzz, that doesn't scream an overly defensive park the bus team. It looks more like a team that just doesn't know what to do with the ball when they have it.
Well, that's true, and it's both those things. It's a defensive team because they're playing with basically 5 at the back, and then the wings, well, they're not wings, they're high, central mids, but they step back, and it's basically a 5-4-1 in defense. But the problem is that you're playing with 2 6s. You don't have anybody in the middle because you're missing Illarramendi and you're missing Paxton and and Leggett was being played up high because Ariella was the wingback. You don't have anybody that can progress the ball through the middle of the field. Omar's an okay passer out of the back, but certainly not elite. Nkosi's better, but Ibiaga's not that great at passing out of the back. Junko's okay, but he's better when he's out wide than he is when he's in the middle. Dondesili is not a combining kind of player. He's not even really a one-on-one player. He's a cut inside and shoot kind of player. Ariola should be able to combine a little bit, but at the same time, he's having to spend a lot of time defending and coming way back into the corner and trying to build out. So, yeah, you're like, where's the play up the middle? There isn't any. So you can see clear as day, though, when Illarramendi came in there, and the minute he provided some of that kind of mentality, they were able to go up the middle, and they got their best chances. And everybody around him gained confidence, and everybody got really better. So when you talk about this team not having any idea what to do and how to get forward, well, that's true. There's no Paxton. There's no Illarramendi, which the team was built around having those two guys in there. Ariola's not really doing that anymore. Leget's not really doing that anymore. Jesus Ferreira's missing. He can't do that really anymore when he's out. Alan Velasco's out for most of the year. So anyone that's capable of doing that can't do that. It isn't there.
All right, but I will counterpoint that with it looks an awfully lot like last year's team, just playing a slightly different formation. Like last year, they couldn't play. I mean, they were they were worse defensively, but they still couldn't get the ball forward. And so I understand that maybe he's trying to fix the defensive part of it, but man, they've got an absolute Grand Canyon of distance to cover to come anywhere close to being a dangerous team in front of goal.
No, that's true. This team under this coach has always been a low volume shot team. They've always relied on high efficiency and high shooting percentages, and it may be that they're overly being overly cautious in terms of when to shoot the ball, but they don't really have a whole lot of creative ideas in the final third. They're very patient. They try and work you down, or they try and wait till late in the game and get you on not a counter, but get you on a transition play. This is what they do. I'm not saying that it's good. I'm just saying this is what it is.
No, I understand.
It's definitely the nature of this coach and this team to play that way. And people, the national runners, you see it all the time. They talk about Dallas not really having a lot of ideas in the final third, and that's true. They don't.
No, none, zero.
Yeah.
Dan,
Yeah.
I think if you were to ask 100 soccer fans what they would like to watch out of their soccer team, is one that is at least adventurous and maybe somewhat, admittedly, a little reckless in trying to be a forward-minded team versus what we're getting now. For example, as maddening as Manchester United is to watch right now, good Lord, they're incredibly entertaining. Bielsa's Leeds was masterfully fun to watch. Klopp's Liverpool is all those things. And I don't understand why a coach thinks that this is a good product to put on the field.
I'm disappointed you didn't mention Luton there.
I should have. Sorry, my apologies.
Sorry.
Yeah, I mean, actually, it's weirdly been the feedback about Luton, right? Oh, you're not getting the results, but the games are really fun. I mean, that's why we watch soccer, right? I mean, you can enjoy the art of defending all you like, but you want to see some fun attacking play and, maybe the odd goal. It just feels like, exactly what you said earlier. The team tries not to lose, and it's just a case of, if you can't score, you can't beat me. And we're a fourth minute of stoppage time goal away from no wins this season.
Well, that and just some stellar work in goal from Martin Paz, who I'm starting to believe we don't deserve.
I figured since I haven't watched the last couple of games, I would do the I just looked at numbers and haven't seen any games for context. And looking at the goals added on American Soccer Analysis, looked at the goalkeepers. Martin Paz, goals added was 3.5, which is second in the league. The next highest was for the team was Sebastian Leggett at like 0.68.
Yeah, it's not good. It's really weird. And I realize, and I'm the first one to point out, they're playing their, fourth and fifth string center mids. I think I'm saying that. Or is it third and fourth? No?
It depends on whether give or take. You can count some different players in those positions, but effectively, it was supposed to be Paxton and Illarramendi,
Right?
Were the first two, and it's not.
Yeah,
and it's like so, and they're both holding mids that you have in there. There's no linking play at all coming out of those two guys.
No, but the point I'm trying to make is that while I will give everybody the benefit of the doubt that this is a team that is ravaged by injury, it doesn't look that much different from the team that frustrated the hell out of us last season.
No. It's the same team. They didn't change anything.
If you look at the style they play, who's significantly missing out that affects the attack?
Well, Illarramendi, who helped a lot at the second half of last season, and I will say, obviously Jesus and Velasco had the ability to provide at least some element of adventure, although it didn't create a ton of opportunities. Maybe that's the slight difference between this year than last year, but it's not substantial enough to have any indication that when one or two of those guys come back, it's suddenly going to change to much
But also
better.
Trying to do the whole square pegs in round holes thing with this 3-4-3. You've got no one that can actually play those wide roles, and in this formation, those wide roles are absolutely everything in getting forward.
Yeah, Buzz, that's my other observation, which is Dante. The wide situation in general, which is what is really frustrating to watch, is Dante Seeley, who, by the way, to be fair to him, appears to be making an effort to put out more effort. At least he was Saturday night for long stretches of the game.
Good.
He's the only guy that seems to have any inclination to try to go at a defender. He's just really bad at it.
Yeah, he's not a great one-on-one attacker. That's not necessarily his best game. He's got some vertical ability to him, and he's going to want to try and get up and down, but he wants to get up and down and then on an angle. He's not going to go down the end and cross. He's going to cut inside. That's kind of his bread and butter underneath. To be fair, I think I talked to Coach about Dante today, and Coach didn't see him when he was here before. He didn't see him in the academy. He's only basing his opinion of Dante off of what he's seen since Dante's come back in the last year, basically. And I think he sees a player with potential that he's trying to invest playing time in. Dante has the ability. He has the raw ability to be a wing back. He has the potential to be a guy that can get up and down like a Kobe Jones type player. He's just not yet. He just, there's this, it probably can be said that this is a weird instance of this coach being like, here's a young-ish player I'm going to invest a lot of playing time in because I think he's got a potential. So it's unusual for this coach to do that, but I think that's what we're seeing in Dante. And to a certain extent, it's what we see with Bernie too, although Bernie has had a rough start because his profile isn't the same as Dante's and doesn't quite match up like Dante's does.
I think that's part of the problem, though. Dante's doesn't really match up with that kind of wing-back role either.
No, he has to learn to play the defensive side of it. Maybe he's, again, square peg, round hole, right? We talked about there's not the potential of people here, the right personnel here to play this shape.
Yeah, but I mean, you kind of have those like Brian Reynolds types, right? Where it's like, the square peg, but it's got kind of rounded corners. You can shave them off a little bit. You can round it up. This isn't that. This is, a guy who is a winger, who is an attacking player that you're like, okay, I want you to go out there and I want you to try and figure out what to do. And I'm not going to give you any inkling of how to do that.
It's a weird one. The other thing that I'm a bit concerned about after watching the game Saturday night is that the Hunts now have spent $10 million on a guy who's completely in his head because he's so frustrated that whenever on the few opportunities he gets the ball, he's going to try to figure out a way to score. And it's typically a bad choice or a bad decision or a bad shot. Or he actually finds himself in a good opportunity and he just tries too hard and he ends up completely missing the frame.
Yeah, he reminds me actually of Jesus last year when Jesus knew he was the only one that could score, and so he's always forcing it all the time.
That's
so
a good
now
shout,
Moose is doing the same thing, and hopefully, we can hope that when Jesus is back and performing, he won't feel that way. I mean, honestly, Musa has looked better paired with Ansa because Ansa's at least provided a little bit of something going by him and playing as a guy who playing off of a high striker, right? So Musa immediately looked more comfortable, but you're still talking about a guy like Graziani to me, or like Blas Perez. These are not guys. He's not Hani Mukhtar. He's not going to have 10 assists. He's not going to drop back and create and come forward and build up and play and get his own goal. It's like you have to give him service for this guy to be able to score. And they don't have anybody right now that can give service because their two wingbacks are not wingbacks that can cross. And their two central mids up until Illarramendi coming back are not guys that can play the passes to him like on the small movement into kind of little spaces. Right? They don't have any of those outlet balls, so he's not getting the ball. There was a moment in training today. I was watching Musa work on finishing up crosses in the box. And I thought, man, that's awesome, except that they don't have any players that can cross into the box. So it made me chuckle watching it. I just wanted to scratch my head and be like, that's a great piece of, and granted, he was staying afterwards and he was doing it for himself, like with just a couple of guys, just trying to work on, finishing in the box and being that, again, trying to be that guy, trying to do the job. But I was watching. I just chuckled, thinking, "There's no one that can hit those balls, dude. I don't know what you're doing."
Come on now, Buzz. You're having a laugh there about he's not a 10 assist Tony Mukhtar type. He joint leads FC Dallas in both goals and assists.
Yeah, fair.
Which is not impressive. Considering it's one.
The leading scorer in the league has 6 goals. Dallas as a team has 5 or 6. Is it 6? Yeah.
Leading scorer is 7, right? And
the best crosser on the team's playing left center back and not wide.
Yeah.
As a wing back.
Since you mentioned him, Buzz, will you remind everybody that when they decided to cut Obrian, and keep Ansa, did they end up saving money at least on that deal? Because they, in many ways, have the exact same player, just a larger version of the former version. Did they at least save some money?
No, it's the exact same player, pretty much the same price.
Okay.
I mean, I told you when they signed him, I said that Obrian was going to be done because it's the same salary slot and the same style player. He's smarter than Obrian.
Yes.
I know you don't think he is, but he is.
He is. I mean, getting to watch him play for a long period of time for the first time in person, but I'm sure everybody listening that was at the game saw this exact same moment I did. It was the most. Do you know what I'm getting ready to bring up, Buzz?
No, not off the top of my head. Go ahead.
The shot. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
So they're shooting at the Hall of Fame, and they're going towards the Hall of Fame, and it's the 37th minute of the game.
Yeah.
And Ansa gets the ball. He at the top of the box. He makes a really smart move to his right. And I'm sitting low enough at the middle of the field. I'm like in the 7th or 8th row. So literally when I am watching this, I am 60 yards directly behind him when he makes this move to the right. And I think, okay, he's pointed towards the corner flag. Like his body is facing the corner flag. And he starts to raise his leg like he's going to shoot. I'm thinking, wait, he's pointing the wrong direction. He's got to cut the ball back and chop his defender, and then repoint his body at the goal, and then shoot.
Right.
Nope. With his body pointed towards the Rhine, he shot the ball and then ended up shooting it, I think, to the right of the Hall of the Fame.
Yeah, that's not so good.
It was the most amateur Moss Park Sunday League shot I have seen in MLS in a really long time.
I know, and it's a shame because he's actually playing better than most other FC Dallas players right now, offensively speaking. Like he's looking the last couple of weeks, he's looking really sharp in training. It's we're right around that 6-month mark, and I've heard some stories about some off-field, personal stuff that maybe was kind of dragging him down a little bit. I mean, he actually looks brighter than anybody else, and it looks like the only guy that knows how to play off a high striker. And yet, it is what he is. He's a journeyman, like mid-tier league striker. He at least has the ability to kind of run behind the defense, which nobody else seems to have, or the willpower to do it, or whatever. So, at this point, he's almost locked down the starting job, which should tell you a lot about where this roster is.
Yes.
That's true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That is really the most difficult and boring part, or depressing part about all of this is in the last week with the rumors that came out last week about all the new roster rules and stuff. And you and I talked about this on the podcast last week.
Right.
Is that the Athletic's written some articles, and a couple of people have written articles kind of just saying, here's how different MLS teams are going to capitalize on these new roster rules. And you really, if you begin to dig into other teams' rosters, you can very quickly begin to separate the haves and the haves not, or the wants and the want nots, because Dallas is so far behind so many clubs in terms of roster quality. It's pretty jarring, frankly.
Yeah, they invested a lot of money, and you guys know this. They invested a lot of money in Leggett and Areola, and those guys have not paid off in the longer term like you would want them to for that money. There's a lot of money in Jesus, who's been hurt since on and off since the Gold Cup. There's a lot of money in Paxton, who is progression has stalled because he's hurt all the time. It's just, it is what it is. Everybody in this league has a roster full of filler. Everyone's filler is relative. What matters is the top end. And they've made a couple investments that haven't paid off on the top end. And they've made a couple of, young, potentially exciting players that either have been hurt or just haven't paid off. So it is what it is, man. It's just that this team, the roster is not an elite echelon roster. It's a middle of the road roster. And if everyone's healthy and you're playing your best soccer, then you can be in the playoffs and in the middle sort of mix of the playoffs. But if you don't, you're going to be in the bottom. That's where they are.
Which takes us to the curious case of Nkosi Tafari, who not only didn't start for the second straight game, he didn't play for the second straight game. This is very quickly starting to smell like the old Oscar Pereira versus Walker Zimmerman fiasco of several years ago. You got any thoughts on that one, Buzz?
Yeah, I talked to Coach about him today, and some of it was the language that you'd expect from a coach when he's talking about a guy he's sat. It's the stuff we heard, like, he was in a bad place, wasn't playing really well, basically. And effectively, what is the case is, reading between the lines, is what I said, which is he got benched. I was left with the impression from talking to Coach, and if I'm wrong about this, then I'll eat it, but I'm pretty sure this is what he was trying to tell me, that Nkosi basically came back from the national team a little complacent. And Nkosi is a player who responds to being challenged. And Coach loves that kid. He was talking about how much he saw in him when he first got here and how he helped, develop Nkosi into the defender he became, and that how much better he thinks he could be. And, he effectively is trying to keep the kid, I'm going to call him a kid because he's 27, keep him motivated and performing at the highest level. And that's effectively what's happening. He sat him down, and then Omar Gonzalez played really well. And when guys played really well, you have to reward them and let them keep their spot. As for what happens this week, I think I'll talk about that when we get down to that section. But, effectively, my conversation with Nico today just reinforced everything you and I talked about last week when we put together our thinking caps and put together pieces of information we had, that really was what was happening. That he was trying to light a fire under him, basically, and keep competition happening. I mean, this is a coach that would like to have two legit starters in every spot on his roster and have to make that decision every week, like who's going to go, and constantly challenge guys and move them in and out of the starting lineup.
He barely has one legit starter for every position.
He doesn't, but he doesn't like a consistent lineup. He likes it to be challenging all the time and changing all the time.
Sure. He
wants chaos, this coach does. He even changes it in training on purpose to make it chaotic. Whether that works in this league or not, I mean, you be the judge. But
isn't that weird that for a coach who wants so little chaos on the field seems to relish chaos off the field?
Yes, yeah, kind of in a way. That's the thing too. Like, if you want to play a rigid system, wouldn't you have like a rigid group that would be like a very defined, clear way of playing that doesn't ever change? And yet he does. He changes the tactics up all the time and changes the personnel. Changes what side, changes whether they're in the front line or the back line based on who the opponent is. And various things like that. So it's just, sometimes you just have to accept that every coach is different. It can drive you crazy trying to make a coach into something he's not, but, each to their own, I guess.
All right. Well, Dan, I know you were busy and didn't see the game. Buzz, I'm trying to think if there's anybody else I want to spend any time chatting about in terms of good or bad play. I mean, Frazier and Delgado are both super not primetime ready. Delgado feels like he's got a little something potentially in there. Frazier's just such a milquetoast player for me. And Areola worked real hard, but didn't make any magic.
Right.
We talked about Dante. The back line. What'd you say?
How's Leggett been?
Well, Leget's a real. I mean, Buzz, I don't know if you'd agree with me. Leggett is a real curiosity to me. I feel like there's a guy that's a really good player in there, but he isn't the type of midfielder that can take a game over and make a difference singularly. He needs other really good players around him to be effective.
Yes.
And while he may be playing well, he's not good enough to do it by himself, and he doesn't have the parts around him to really maximize his value right now.
They've also moved him a little bit. They were trying to use him as a D-bait to try and get some leaking play going with next to Frazier. And by the way, you saw how Frazier improves when Indy comes in there. It's funny. All of a sudden, Frazier's trying these splitting passes. It's like, dude, do that when you're in there with Delgado. And then they use Leggett more as like a 10 type situation because Ansah plays a little higher, like up next to Musa. So Leggett kind of becomes a 10 like guy. It's not really his game either. I think you're right though that if you surround him with good players, he's able to elevate his game and play at a higher level. He just can't carry a team anymore.
No, he and then what was the other one I was going to talk about for a second?
Well, I wanted to give Ariel a little credit because at least he provides a two-way game. I know it's not outstanding either way, but Dante Seeley's one-dimensional offense.
Yeah. And
even Chawasi has forgotten how to attack people, which is ridiculous because he created the most scoring opportunities when it was San Antonio playing outside like that. So at least Legett's giving you a two-way game. Not Leggett, sorry. Ariel gives you a two-way game at wingback, even if it's not incredible either way.
It does. He does feel wasted playing that position, as you talked about in the preseason. Like the idea of him playing wingback just seems like it's such a weird place to spend a lot of money on a position. But he's the only guy they got.
Yeah, it's just weird to put $1.6 million at wingback, but so this is where we are. So.
And then the back line, I just was frightening most of the night. I mean,
Ibby was good.
Yeah, I mean, for Ibby, he was fine. Again, there were enough opportunities for Seattle. I mean, if Jordan Morris was just a little bit more prepared for balls to kind of come at him quickly, he probably could have scored 2 or 3 himself. Omar had that really weird moment where he dummied the ball essentially on the penalty spot. Did you see that one?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I still can't figure out what was going on there. Junka just, he just looks like a guy who's just not in a position that makes him comfortable at all.
No, it's not. Well, he would be the other guy who could give you two-way ability at wingback because he's a decent outside back. And you remember last year when he played wing in the back half of the year, he actually was the one who could get crosses in. And came inside when he was on the opposite side and shot some. That was when you and I talked about this last week. I was like, I bring back Nkosi and put Sam at wingback because I think he would be an ideal wingback. Mm-hmm. He's not going to be a superstar wingback, but he's like Paul. He would give you the two-way game that you need in order to try and play this way under Coach Nico's system. But instead they're investing all this time in Dante. I suppose the difference is if things go really well, maybe Dante can become something special, whereas Sam's just going to be Sam, which I love. But it's not, this high-end superstar idea of that maybe you think you have in Dante.
I'll also, before we finish talking about the game, Seattle is not in good shape themselves. In fact, they're almost equally as boring as Dallas. But there is a sense that there's something there, and they're a team that is struggling because of their injury situation, not because they're just not very good. And I think that's maybe the difference currently between them and Dallas.
Well, they did score 5 goals the game before.
Yes.
So there's that.
But they didn't. They just. I mean, they created some opportunities, didn't convert them. But I wouldn't have called if that's the only version. If that's the only game I had seen of Seattle this year, I would go. That's not a very dangerous team.
No, they're not
in that way. And now that I've officially seen them in person, not to beat this to death, those new kits are perfect.
So good.
They're Buzz in person. They're even better in person than they are in pictures.
I believe it.
They're the tits, as they say. All right. Well, that would do it. At least they got a point, but draws, I think, in some ways are worse than losses. You know why? It's because if you lose a game, maybe you were trying to score. And if you're a team that constantly is drawing, you're exactly what you deserve that result, that stupid point.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, I think I'm with you most of the time. I don't think it's totally fair to say they're not trying to score. They just don't try to score in volume. They're just super, super patient and slow and methodical to get really, really good opportunities.
No, Buzz.
Versus like a really exciting, like attacking je ne sais quoi.
See, this is where you and I disagree on this. I'm not saying they're not trying to score. I am saying I don't think I don't think they know how to score.
Yeah, no, that's fair. Fair.
And that's a very, very different thing.
That's fair.
Okay.
That's fair.
Because if this was a team that just sat back and booted the ball 90 yards every time they got it and turned it over and just waited, I would have gotten up and I would have left the game and I would never watch this team again.
Oh, like they did in Seattle. Oh, no, in Seattle versus St. Louis.
Right.
In St. Louis.
I didn't. Yeah. So, you know what I'm saying. So,
yeah.
all right.
I'm with you.
0-0. Nice crowd, bored crowd, et cetera, et cetera. Dan, you did not miss much, sir. Hopefully you'll better luck next time. All right, that will take us to the next topic, which is, Buzz, you have mentioned you went to training today. You got to talk to the coach. You have an update on injuries. You at least teased everybody in your podcast tease tweet something positive. So why don't you let us have it?
Yeah, there's two positives. The number one positive is Jesus Ferreira came back to training on Sunday. And when everyone else was doing their recovery work, Jesus was out, running and doing full with everybody else. And then, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, these are the first days this year that they've had almost a completely healthy squad. And I say almost because there are still, of course, 3 players that are basically out for big chunks of the year. So not counting those guys, they at least finally got Jesus back. And Marco Farfan was back. His thing was concussion protocol, by the way. Illarramendi came into the game and played a chunk and came through that good, healthy and looking good. So, if Jesus this week, of course, is still on a little bit of a load restriction in training, but he is 100% participating. So if he comes through the week and doesn't have a problem, and hasn't been so far, then he should be good to be available this weekend. When you're talking about a hamstring, you're talking about Jesus. I'm putting lots of caveats out there, but he looked good today. I'll give you that. Okay.
It sounds like we're talking about a household appliance. It's on its last legs.
If
the washing machine will just hold on for a couple more washes.
Yeah, you got to get through the week. That's always huge. So obviously, with this coach is the way he works. I seriously doubt that Jesus would start. It would just be like everybody else, where he comes in for like 30 minutes that first time. So. Illarramendi should be at least half the game, if not more, like a 60 minutes. So I think he will start. And then I think you get, so that'll impact your philosophy, like how you're going to play the game on the road. Try and bring Jesus on for the last, 60, 65, 70 minutes and take a shot at it. And with him coming in late, that's what I think will happen. Farfan, like I said, is back, but he hasn't been able to work himself into the rotation yet this season, even when he was healthy a couple weeks ago. So on injuries, though, that's it,
Anything?
That's all good news.
Anything else from training? Any observations or stories to tell?
Stories. Let's see if I have any stories. No, it's pretty straightforward. Oh, Omar has become very, very vocal. I don't know whether he decided that the defense is being played as crap, but he's doing a lot of directing of traffic, and he was actually having a pretty intense discussion with another player who I won't mention at one point when Coach was trying to talk, and Coach basically told everybody to shut the F up, which is not usually his way to yell at everybody like that, this coach. But so Omar, I think, is trying to galvanize the defensive group, trying to be a leader. So credit to him. He's been around, seen a lot. So if he wants to give younger players some defensive instruction, I'm okay with that. And then other than that, it was just watching them work through the rotations of what the coach is thinking about for this weekend. Trying to prep for how they're going to play against Colorado. Trying to play for figure out how they're going to play to get on the mountain. I will admit that Marco Farfan looks pretty discouraged. I will admit, looking at him trying to figure out how in the world am I going to get into this lineup is not. I think he knows he's being frozen out. For whatever reason. So
do we know what's going on?
He's not a center back, and he's not apparently what Coach wants at wing back, because he's all in on Dante, and he's not really a center back. So he's kind of, there's multiple guys on this team that don't have the right profiles. Bernie doesn't really either. It's for the places they're trying to play him, and he hasn't responded really well. Although he's looking better, it's just a weird bit. Again, it comes back to this idea, like, why are they doing this formation they don't have the personnel for?
Right.
You didn't spend the winter getting the right pieces, but, coach is very committed to whatever this idea. So I'm expecting it again. We'll see how it goes.
Okay. Well, that means a trip up to the mountains and playing against the Pids, who, by the way, very quietly have started pretty solidly this season. After getting pummeled in the opening game 4-1 to Portland, they've only lost once, and that was a 1-0 loss at home to Houston. They've gotten results against Nashville, Salt Lake, Seattle, LAFC. They tied Miami, and last weekend they beat up on San Jose 3-0. So they're 3-2-3 under Chris Armas this season, and not looking too shabby with all those off-season additions.
And to be fair, that loss they had to Houston, they were absolutely cheated. That was the one where the player was down bleeding from his head, and the referee was like, "Yeah, we'll play on, screw it."
Oh, that's right. I forgot about that.
Houston took up the other end and scored.
Dirty Houston.
Yeah, for sure.
Buzz, are you still with us?
Yeah, I'm here.
Oh, okay. You sound like you were distracted by
I was
something.
thinking about dirty Houston.
Oh, not that kind of dirty Houston.
Yeah. Houston is not Houston. Colorado is Dallas's bogey team.
Boy, are they.
Playing at Mile High sucks. I don't think Dallas has won there since 2014 or some crap like that. I haven't looked it up yet, but it's something like that. This is going to be a rough one, man. It's going to be tough. Colorado's pretty decent. I would expect to continuation with the 3-4-3. I think it's going to be Musa and Ansa up top. I don't think Jesus will start, so I imagine it'll still be because Illarramendi, I think, will start. I think that means that leave Leggett as sort of that higher tennis role, and you'll get either Delgado or Frazier, probably Frazier, just because he's got a little more experience than Delgado does. Provide a little bit of grit in there when you have Illarramendi and maybe Leggett run around a little bit. Paul and Dante, I can't imagine changing at this point. And then it'll be Ibi, Omar, and Sam, unless Coach decides that Nkosi has done well enough. I think there's actually a chance that because Omar has played pretty well, I think there's a chance they might put Tafari at left center back and leave Omar on. I don't love that idea because you're perfecting your defense or building your defense around a guy you can't have play 34 games because he's 8,000 years old. He's almost as old as me.
Last week he was 600 years old.
Yeah, he's getting older by the day. So, if Omar has to start every game at middle center back for the whole year, you're in trouble.
Yeah.
So you're in trouble anyway. But so I think there's a chance that Tafari might come in for Sam, potentially at left center back, and then pause. So it's pretty straightforward. I mean, the team almost. If you remember that Nico's the coach, the team pretty much picks itself based on health. The choices he makes and who's healthy, it's pretty obvious to me who's going to play. So
yeah,
that's your 11, I think. And then Jesus will come in at, 65, 70.
Oh, you don't think he'll start?
Oh, no. No way.
Okay, well, maybe if there's an Achilles heel, Colorado, while they have scored more than twice as many goals as Dallas has, they've given up 2 more goals than Dallas has, and their goal differential is only 1. So maybe defensively they're a bit in rough shape. And if Dallas can somehow conjure out some creativity and get themselves in front of goal, they'll have an opportunity there.
Yeah, this is one of these games where coach is going to go up there. He's going to try and stifle the game, try and keep Colorado from scoring, and then he'll think they're defensively fragile and Dallas can get one. He'll try and win a game. So I'm sure that'll be the philosophy, just like it always is on the road in this league for this coach.
Okay. I said this when we mentioned Martin Paz. The other thing that I really love about Martin is how much he has embraced the rest of the local sports scene. Did you guys see that he was wearing a Texas Rangers championship hoodie to the game? Wasn't that awesome?
That was fun. Yeah.
Can't wait until he has the Allen Americans gear next week. That's the next step, right?
It may be. I was thinking as I was watching pause the other day play. I feel like I need to ask a goalkeeper this question. Maybe I'll get a chance to ask Dave Durr or Mark Dodd this question someday. But do goalkeepers who are on bad teams find themselves in a situation where maybe in a weird masochistic way they're enjoying themselves because they're getting a lot of time and they get to do a lot because shots are coming in and they're getting to make great saves versus playing on a really, really good defensively stout team? Does that question make any sense whatsoever?
Yeah, no, it totally does.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, it probably depends on how many are going in.
I guess. I mean, if you're Martin right now, you got to be feeling like you're having your team sucks, but you are playing really, really well.
Yeah, I mean, that's so 7 saves he had in St. Louis was just unbelievable.
Well, he had really at least 1, if not 2 good saves in this game in Seattle.
Yeah, he did.
And he's distributing the ball well. He just looks more confident on the ball. Dan, that new kit he wore Saturday night was weirdly 80s cool.
It's the Saved by the Bell ones.
It is the Saved by the Bell ones.
By the way, Soccer 90 got in a limited number of those black jerseys. I think they sold out in like an hour.
Yeah.
That black jersey, keeper jersey.
I found it interesting. On EAFC 24, I started playing it last week, and they've got the purple jersey for FC Dallas. That's not one that FC Dallas is using, but I'm like,
technically it is, Dan.
Wait! In the game, the jersey is purple.
The goalkeeper kit.
Oh! I thought maybe the gradient effect just came across as completely purple on the home jersey.
I think EA just kind of assigned random ones because they only do one, so they just threw the purple one at FC Dallas, which looks really good in it.
On the kit list that the league sends out, the like 2 weeks ago when Martin wore the one that's kind of a darker blue, it's labeled as purple. And then the blue one, quote unquote, is the one that's almost sky blue that Antonio wore earlier this year.
Okay.
Oh, because I've only seen them listed as the blue one, the actual blue one with the silver, the green with the like yellow triangle, and then the black one. So,
I'll see if I can find you one.
Excellent. This is also the weekend we found out that the league is going to institute the new rules, and I'm interested in. They've already instituted the continued clock inside the stadium that appears to have gone over well with everybody. But the most noticeable thing everybody will, I assume, see at least once a game is the referee announcing in stadium in real time the details of whatever VAR decisions are made. Much like
VAR.
Yeah, like now, while he is adjudicating it, the VAR alarm from the kick around will go off in the stadium, driving everybody nuts until and then, God, wouldn't that be awesome? VAR,
it would be awful.
VAR.
Please no.
And there'd be like red siren lights that go off around the stadium. It'd be funny once.
No. Yeah.
Twice.
Okay, once.
Anyway, so NFL style or whatever, I guess all the referees and all the sports do it now, turn to the camera and announce what's going on. The 2 other ones are the ones that I think everybody will find most interesting and intriguing because they are time-based penalties. The first one being if you are a player being substituted off the field, you have 10 seconds to get off the field or your replacement cannot come on the field for, 2 more minutes?
Oh, it's a minute or 2. I don't remember this.
Yeah, there's some delay. Like, how long, Dan?
I think it was 60 seconds.
Yeah, so the guy replacing you, your team plays down for a period of time. And the other one is if you go down with an injury and you require somebody to come out to attend to you, you have to go off the field and you have to stay off the field for, I think it is 2 minutes. Now, here's the thing. How long before this immediately turns into the goalkeeper must punt or get rid of the ball within 6 seconds law? And everybody just ignores it and never actually holds to it anymore.
Well, when they announced the change, particularly the injury one, the sub one, when they announced the sub one, they implemented that rule in MLS Next Pro, and something like 98% of the players in the league got off in the time. So it actually became very effective about making everybody run off the field. So, I think it'll that one real quickly will be adapted.
Those are just dumb kids.
Well,
I'm
all you
just
gotta do is
kidding.
enforce it once.
Yeah.
And by the way, here's your hot take: Dallas is going to lose this game because someone's going to get a minute or 2 minute penalty from one of these stupid rules, and Colorado's going to score because they're going to be up a man. That's what's going to happen, and you know it. You know that's what's going to happen.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that player stays down rule. Can we just go ahead and call that the Hideo O'Brien clause right now?
Yeah, the O'Brien rule.
Yeah, that's pretty interesting. I mean, that we instantly have already predicted the newest entry to the list.
Yeah, it'll totally be on the list. It'll probably be there next Monday because it's going to happen this weekend. You know it is.
Yeah, Buzz has marked it down now.
Yeah, I got it. I already wrote it in.
I do wonder how many people listening to this podcast are completely unaware there is a rule on the books that a goalkeeper must get rid of the ball out of their hands within 6 seconds.
I think most people know that.
Just
Why?
not been
It's
enforced.
never. It's a rule that is never ever called.
I've seen somebody carded for it.
When?
People,
In
you
an
never seen
MLS game?
Yeah, you never seen a keeper get carded for waiting too long? Probably.
I've
Jesse.
seen it for wasting time, but not for holding the ball because then it's an
Yeah,
indirect
kicking out
free
of the hands
kick.
is different.
Yeah, I don't know. Same thing.
No. I think, Buzz, you and I are talking about two different things. If a goalkeeper picks the ball up, they have 6 seconds to distribute the ball. And if they're not, it's an indirect free kick from wherever it is, even if it's inside the box.
I know, but how many keepers stand there and hold the ball?
Right. And I'm saying nobody ever calls it anymore.
This is because nobody stands there and holds the ball. They set the ball down on the ground. They all do that.
I think keepers get away with
Well,
holding the
you're-
ball for way longer
You
than
always
6
see
seconds.
a striker counting it off in their hands.
Yeah, you're
with
forgetting
their
the
hands
part of
in
the
air.
rule that is if someone is putting pressure on the keeper that doesn't count. If someone's there, like interrupting their ability to play, and that is a pretty broad spectrum of what that counts as, then the 6 seconds doesn't count.
Oh, no, I'm familiar with all of
Yeah.
that. I'm just saying that I think keepers, it's like the other rule that a keeper must be in the box to distribute it, but keepers are regularly 2 steps outside the box when they punt the ball down the field.
I wouldn't have said that was regular, but okay, I'll take your word for that one.
Dan, are you with me on that?
There's definitely a lot of keepers that release it at the edge and
Okay.
the ball is outside of the box. But yeah, we're getting in the weeds about silly things at this point. I really they should just scrap that rule. It's never been enforced other than one season.
Right. All I'm saying is that these time-based rules, I just wonder how long they become rules that really aren't, they're in the books, but nobody really follows them everywhere.
I think the sub one will be effective. I think that one will work. I think
Because that just kind of the sub one plays into what's already in place from IFAB, right? Which is a player has to go to the sideline closest to them and get them off as quick as possible.
I don't feel like they already gave up trying to stick to that rule.
No, they do it all the time.
to a degree, they definitely do it. Like, hey, if you're at the touchline, get the hell off. But if they're like 2/3 over, all right, go to the far side. It's fine.
Okay. All right. Well, it's common sense. Law 18. Use common sense, as they always say.
Yeah.
We'll see how it goes. Well, that starts this weekend, so don't be startled when referees start talking to you in the stadium. I'll be interested to know inside Toyota Stadium with arguably the worst audio system I've ever heard in my life, how easy it will be to hear what the referee is saying in the stadium on that PA system. Good Lord, that thing's awful.
It's not very good. Hopefully it's good enough. We heard it in the spring. They
It's better than
tested
it
it.
used to be, at least.
Yeah.
All right. Let's see. What else do we want to talk about here, Buzzard?
Well, I'd like to talk about how this team actually gets any better. Other than like getting healthy, you have to get Jesus to buy in and be present. I think the last half of last year, he at times has been. I don't know what I don't know what's going on with the kid, to be honest with you, but it's like he's not the same player post Gold Cup that he was pre Gold Cup, and not just from injuries. I think mentally too, he looks different. I think so that's really important, and I don't know if that's possible, because he's really the only one who's going to be able to score or create effectively, right? Because Ansa doesn't do it, Musa doesn't do it. We've already talked about Leggett not doing it, so it's like you're going to have him do some things. Illarramendi coming back will help, but Jesus has to buy in and be engaged. And then the second thing is that, and these two things I know they're actively doing the second two, and that's that they're after players. They have to replace Paxton for the course of this season, so they're actively looking for a midfielder, central midfielder, and they finally realized that they need a center back, so they're actively out looking for. I've heard specifically an international center back, and I think it's more than likely it's a left-footed kind of player. So we'll see if those two things can happen
before the window closes.
Before the window closes, I think, which is coming up soon, and then or the second window. So I don't think they'll move on putting Paxton on the IR until they need to. But I do think that if you don't get those two pieces, you're not going to get much better. You're kind of going to look like you're going to look now, because Illarramendi coming back is nice, but I don't think Jesus will change things a lot unless Jesus comes back like 2022 Jesus. If you don't get that, you're not getting, you're going to be scraping to get into the playoffs, and that's why the team plays like it does.
I'll let Dan go next.
Play players in the right places.
Yeah, change tactics. I don't think that's going to happen, though.
No, I mean, that's it, right? It's players just put them in positions to thrive, not in. I think coaches often focus so much on creating adversity to create better players, and sometimes that's just needless.
It is weird because in the Dallas sports scene, we're at a really weird time where the Rangers are obviously champions of the world, defending champs. The Mavericks are on an amazing roll, and a lot of people think they could go really deep in the NBA playoffs. The Stars arguably are a Stanley Cup, contender. And when it comes to FC Dallas and the Cowboys, it just the cloud of doom over both of their seasons. Now, the Cowboys season is way off in the future, but that season already feels like it is ripe for a disastrous outcome based on the way this offseason is going for the Cowboys. And it feels the same way for this soccer team, where it doesn't, Buzz, to me, feel like there is any way this thing gets demonstrably better this season, and it's going to take some sort of massive shift and change in the offseason before we ever start seeing this team play better again.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see if Coach sticks with this formation. So if he rides that formation change until it costs him something serious, like the gig, because as Dan said what I said a couple weeks ago, which is like I would have gone back to the 4 where they were comfortable, where your roster fits. But he obviously thinks this is the way forward. He really
they were terrible with the 4. They gave up a ton of goals with playing 4 in the back, which doesn't make any sense to me either, which may be part of the reason why Tafari is sitting. I don't know.
The 2 games they went for this season, was really bad with Tafari in the middle of the 2. With Ibby, it didn't go well at all. So that is part of it, yeah.
Well, I apologize to the curious if this all sounds very bummerish on repeat episode after episode, but it is what it is. And I'd love to have a positive spin. I mean, look, the positive spin out of the Seattle game is they got a point and nobody got hurt.
Yeah, it's going to be a grind. It's going to look like the back half of last year when they had a whole lot of 0-0, 1-1 ties. Unless somebody on this team figures out how to score. And I think, honestly, they all became, the club, the organization, the coaching staff became convinced that like 2002 was the norm and that we can play this way, because they played the same way and Jesus scored a lot of goals and it worked. And then last year they played the same way and Jesus did not score a lot of goals and the defense seemed to regress and it didn't work. But then they had all those injuries. So I'm sure they looked at this year as like, man, if we could just get healthy, we'll play like we did in 2022 and it'll be fine. And it'll be great. And I don't know that it really is great. I think because of the way they play, they grind out some ties and they tend not to lose as many games because they keep the scoring down. They don't lose as many, which was the problem on Lucci at the end. They were losing too many games. That's kind of what it is. And it's going to be that way, and it's going to be a season of that. And at some point, we'll have to figure out what else we can talk about, except for, man, this team can't score, because it's going to be this way unless Jesus sort of, unless they figure out a way to feed Musa in a way where he can actually get goals. It's not going to happen, because he's not a guy that does it on the solo. He's a guy that needs it in a team concept. And Jesus, if Jesus can buy into that and they can get it going, if they can replace Paxton and they can get like some more linking pressure into the box, and then maybe you got some things going. Maybe you can do some things. But if Paul, well, it won't be Paul. If Dante Seeley can kind of turn into a guy who creates chaos, because I don't think Allen's going to come back with any demonstrable decisiveness when you're talking about end of August coming off of an ACL. It'll take months and months for him to really be really effective, probably. Mm-hmm. Giovanni could come back maybe mid-season, and by the end of the season give you something on the outside more effective, and then Paul can go back up higher again or whatever. But you're only talking about incremental stuff. In the end, it's like this investment in this roster is invested in players who have not come through for you the last 2 seasons, and that's the bottom line.
Well, we will find out more this weekend as Dallas goes to Colorado. Anything else we want to do? Oh, I do want to say this on a positive note. The club on their social media put out a really, really, really good recap video of the Dallas Cup, specific to the FC Dallas teams, and you should go hunt that down and watch it. It's really good.
It is very good. It's a great video. I loved it. But I'm a huge fan of the Dallas Cup and FC Dallas being in it. So that's awesome.
I know that the girls' side of the tournament isn't as big a deal as the boys, but I wish they had spent a little more time talking about the girls winning the U17 group. But
they won 2 of the 4.
That's right. So it would be. It was a great video. Go hunt it down.
That 17 team is unbelievable.
Yes.
Oh my gosh, that's awesome.
Good stuff. Okay.
One more thing: Antonio Carrera started for North Carolina FC in the U.S. Open Cup today, and they won 1-0 in advance. So
interesting.
And
now, or all other than the MLS teams, all the Texas teams are out, because I saw Lubbock lost to New Mexico. Is there any Texas teams left in the tournament?
I mean, other than Houston, but you said other than MLS teams. No, the USL teams in Texas are. Oh, San Antonio FC still in it, I think.
Are they?
I think so.
I don't know.
Let me look.
Clearly, I have not been paying close attention.
Well, I didn't even think about the other Texas teams that are in it.
San Antonio...
El Paso's still just in it, for a minute until Union Omaha beat them on penalties.
Oh, they're going to penalties?
They're losing 4-3 right now in penalties, yeah.
Okay.
I figured Dallas is probably going to get Tulsa since they knocked off Northern Colorado. Sort of proximity. You got to see the El Paso. So they're still in it.
So is San Antonio playing in it?
I don't see them now that I said that, unless they played.
Or maybe they don't start till another round?
No. Maybe that's it. Maybe that's why I think that. I was looking at it earlier, and I swear I saw their name. So,
because are USL 1 teams or championship teams in it yet already?
Some of them are, some of them are not. Some of them come in the next round.
So maybe San Antonio's one that comes in later. Okay. All right. Clearly, my attention towards the Open Cup has been lax.
Well, it never even occurred to me to think about the other Texas teams in USL. Nice of you to point that out. Yeah, San Antonio will come in with the MLS teams in this round.
Okay.
Let's see who else. Anyone else that you care about? No, not really. That's it.
Austin FC 2 out. FC Dallas not in yet. El Paso out. Well, soon to be out.
Dallas is next round.
Out.
Yeah.
Houston hasn't come in yet. Lubbock out. San Antonio FC.
Hey, did you guys see that note from somebody the other day, or the suggestion that the idea of MLS Next is that the league wants all of the clubs to give individual identification to their MLS Next teams different from the MLS team?
Yep. They're pressing that. MLS Next Pro, they're pressing for that.
And then have those teams play in different areas or different regions, or not necessarily in the same place. So, I mean, obviously Dallas already has that with North Texas.
They said they want it in a different market, quote unquote, but less than 100 miles away. So they want it close-ish, but not in your main stadium, and also not in a college stadium. So they want an independent identity, so like for FC Dallas's case, like you could do, South Dallas or Arlington or Fort Worth or Denton or something like that.
Kansas City's got to be pissed off.
Well, they changed their team back from Swope Park because they don't play at Swope Park anymore. But you should have kept the name Swope Park Rangers because that was a great name. And there's been some other teams that have abandoned their individual names, but now they're being pushed back towards it. I think some of it's because of the independent teams that are coming into the league. They want to kind of muddy
Build
those
another
waters
league.
a little bit and build these other brands and build and I think it's also part of the whole Open Cup thing, right? They want to treat them almost as a little more separation in a sense by having these different brands, these different locations.
There's also, they had that notion of, it needs to be MLS. It needs to retain all the marks that we already own. But nobody wants to go watch a reserve team.
Right.
So if you have teams trying to get out of their market, out of their stadium, we saw the best attendances North Texas SC had was when they were basically free games at Toyota Stadium. If you're trying to push it as not quite just a reserve team, but its own thing, then the branding really is going to help.
And it probably makes sense that the story about the stadium being built down in Mansfield is where North Texas will end up then.
Yeah, I think that's pretty clear. I mean, they've announced that North Texas would be the team that would play there.
Oh, that's right. They did do that, didn't they? Yeah. Okay.
Well, and the company that's going to operate the venue is the same one that operates Choctaw. So there's where they play now. So there's these connective tissues there.
Okay. And has there been any more clarity on the Dallas Super League women's team?
Not specifically, but I've been in touch with them, and I'm hoping to have some more info in the next couple of weeks.
No idea where they're going to play?
Not yet. When I talked to them, they said they're looking at a couple of different venues still. So
okay.
There's no team, because we raised questions about, man, it's in this fall. Where's the coach? Where's the players? Where's the brand? Where's the save? And one of their owners reached out to me and said, we've been working on a whole bunch of stuff. I'd love to sit with you and talk to you about it. So hopefully over the next 2 weeks sometime, I'm going to actually have a chat with them so I can learn some stuff, hopefully. They've been really quiet.
Chop, dude. What you waiting for?
Not being sick. That's what I'm
No,
waiting
not
for.
you.
Oh.
The owner.
Yeah, I don't know. They've been working, they say. It's we'll find out. So.
Oh, all right. Well, all right. I got nothing else. I got a big bag of nothing, just like my soccer team.
Texoma, which you may not care about very much, is the new USL One team that's coming. They announced a bunch of owner partners, some businessmen in that area, and then some sort of celebrities like Gronk's family, so apparently. So, yeah.
Wait.
So more investment in that deal.
Gronkowski?
Yeah.
The tight end from New England?
Yeah, no, the other Gronk.
There
is no other Gronk.
Oh.
Yeah.
His family is invested in the team?
Yeah.
What's the tie?
I don't know.
They've got family local.
Oh, okay.
And apparently they're doing some kind of, up in the Sherman sort of area along 35, there's some kind of mixed use, commercial, residential, hotel kind of, like one of the people they've partnered with is a person who does like investing, money management kind of stuff for various whatevers. So it's a whole big, the announcements all lends a weight and credibility to their ownership group, because it's people that you actually know of that actually have developed things and had money and are invested in that area. So it's a positive on that front for that group. Third Degree, the podcast, has been brought to you by Soccer90.com, your source for FC Dallas U.S. Men's National Team and international club gear. And now they've got the FC Dallas True Brand Military Appreciation Hat available there at Soccer 90. Grab yours while supplies last. As a Third Degree listener, you get 20% off with the code Third Degree in store or in person. Just mention it at checkout or put that code in online, soccer90.com. Some exclusions may apply. This episode of Third Degree, the podcast, has also been brought to you by the Lindstrom Law Firm. For wills, trust, probates, and business law, call 469-515-2559. That's 469-515-2559. Or visit lindstromlawfirm.com for a free consultation.
Very good. Okay. Well, Dan, thanks for returning. We missed you while you were gone, sir.
Well, no guarantees for next week, eh?
We need you, Dan. It's better when you're here.
I just need to be less busy in life.
Well, be less busy.
but then bills don't get paid.
Oh, okay. Well, good luck with all that. Buzz, I hope you feel better, buddy. You're all clogged up.
Yeah, I'm a mess. I better feel better because next week's gonna have to be a road pod. I got to travel for work, so I'm leaving that morning. But hopefully I'll feel better by then.
We'll break out the
Hopefully,
Zyrtec
wherever that is, allergies will be better.
Yeah,
and
fair enough.
Flonase.
Orlando. I'm gonna go hang out with Poppy.
Good luck. Okay. All right, guys. Thanks so much, and thank you, FC Dallas Curious fan. Keep strong, and we will speak to you next week on another episode of Third Degree, the podcast.
That was as positive as this gets.
Third Degree, the Third Degree Net Podcast. Third Degree, the Third Degree Net Podcast.